The rain had been falling steadily for hours, a cold and unrelenting drizzle that soaked the quiet suburban street outside Lisa's home. Inside, the soft glow of a reading lamp barely warmed the room, where Lisa was curled up on the couch, lost in a book. But then, a sudden, pitiful cry shattered the calm. It was faint, almost drowned by the storm, but unmistakably desperate. Lisa's heart skipped a beat. She set the book down, grabbed her raincoat, and stepped outside, the cold biting at her skin. Her flashlight cut through the murky shadows as she scanned the backyard. There, beneath the sprawling branches of an old oak tree, she spotted a tiny, shivering bundle, a kitten, no bigger than her palm, huddled under the wet leaves. Its fur was matted and soaked through, and it let out a feeble meow that tugged at Lisa's heart. Carefully, Lisa knelt and wrapped the kitten in her jacket, shielding it from the rain. The kitten trembled violently, its little body racked with cold and fear. Lisa whispered soft, soothing words, hoping to calm the frightened creature. Just then, her golden retriever Max appeared silently beside her. Normally a calm and friendly presence, Max's eyes widened as he sniffed the kitten. Instead of barking or jumping excitedly like usual, Max lowered himself to the ground and gently rested his massive head against the kitten's tiny frame. Lisa watched in amazement as Max began to nuzzle the kitten softly, his warm breath puffing against the kitten's damp fur. The kitten whimpered, but Max's gentle presence seemed to bring a sense of security it hadn't had in a long time. Slowly, Max shifted, curling his body protectively around the kitten like a furry shield against the storm. Lisa's heart melted. She had never seen Max behave like this before. He had always been a loyal, loving dog, but there was a deep, almost instinctive tenderness in the way he stayed close to the kitten. It was as if he understood the fragility of the small life he was protecting. Carrying the kitten inside, Lisa dried her off with a soft towel, while Max followed closely, never once leaving the kitten's side. She made a small bed for the kitten near Max's favorite spot by the fireplace. To her surprise, Max settled down beside the kitten, letting out a low, comforting whine whenever the kitten stirred or cried. That night, Lisa barely slept. She watched Max as he gently wrapped his paws around the kitten, hugging her close whenever she started to whimper in the darkness. It was a strange sight. Max, the big, strong dog, acting like a guardian angel to this tiny, fragile creature. Lisa's mind raced with questions. Why was Max so protective? Was it just because he sensed the kitten's vulnerability, or was there something more? As the storm raged outside, a quiet, unspoken bond blossomed between the dog and the kitten, a bond that would soon reveal itself to be far deeper than anyone could have imagined. Lisa felt both hopeful and anxious, knowing this unlikely pair's story was just beginning. The next morning, the storm had passed, leaving the world washed clean and sparkling under soft sunlight. Lisa woke early, careful not to disturb the quiet scene beside the fireplace. Max lay curled protectively around the kitten, now named Luna, who had nestled deeply into his golden fur. The two looked like an inseparable pair, a stark contrast of size and species, yet bound by a tender, silent promise. Lisa gently picked up Luna, noting how fragile she still seemed. Her small body shivered slightly, and her wide blue eyes darted nervously around the room. Max, however, never once left her side. As Luna's tiny paws brushed against Max's chest, he responded with a soft nuzzle and a low, comforting whine. It was as if he was saying, "I'm here. You're safe now." Over the next few hours, Lisa watched the bond between them deepen in ways she hadn't expected. Whenever Luna cried, whether from hunger, discomfort, or fear, Max responded almost immediately. He would shift his position, wrapping his massive paws around her like a protective shield, pressing his warm body against her small frame to calm her. It wasn't just protective instinct. There was something almost human in Max's behavior, an understanding, a compassion that went beyond the simple affection most dogs show. Lisa felt her eyes well with tears more than once as she observed Max gently licking Luna's face, as if wiping away the tiny kitten's pain. The two quickly became inseparable companions. Luna followed Max everywhere, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. Max, always patient, tolerated her playful paw taps and clumsy attempts to climb over him. Even when Luna's tiny claws accidentally scratched his fur, Max responded with nothing but gentle whimpers and careful licks. Lisa started documenting their moments together, snapshots of Max hugging Luna, videos of them playing and sleeping side by side. She shared a few of these on social media, and the response was immediate. Friends and strangers alike were touched by the unlikely friendship between the golden retriever and the fragile kitten. But Lisa knew there was more behind Max's fierce protectiveness. It was as if he sensed something she didn't, something fragile and urgent about Luna's existence. Several times, when Luna let out a particularly weak cry, Max would whine in a low, urgent tone, pressing his face so close to hers it seemed he was listening for something no one else could hear. That night, Lisa sat by the fireplace, watching the two companions. Max had once again curled around Luna, pulling her close as if trying to shield her from the dark world outside. Luna's soft purring filled the silence, and Max's breathing slowed into a steady rhythm. Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a puppy-dog love story. Max's protectiveness was extraordinary. She wondered if maybe, just maybe, he was sensing something wrong, something that would explain why he refused to leave Luna's side. But what could it be? Was Luna sick? Was she hiding a secret no one had noticed yet? The questions circled in Lisa's mind as the room grew dark. One thing was clear. This bond between dog and kitten wasn't just heartwarming. It was urgent, profound, and perhaps a silent warning of what was to come. Days turned into a week, and the unusual bond between Max and Luna only grew stronger. Lisa had never seen anything quite like it. Max followed Luna everywhere, his big golden eyes always watching over her with an intensity that was both touching and unsettling. Luna's condition, however, remained fragile. Although she had stopped shivering and was eating small meals, she was still weak and often tired. Lisa noticed how Luna's breathing sometimes seemed shallow and uneven, especially after a short burst of play. At times, Luna would suddenly let out a soft, distressed meow that sent Max into a frenzy of protective behavior. He would press his body against her, hug her tightly with his paws, and nuzzle her head as if trying to soothe the pain only he could feel. Lisa grew concerned. Was Luna sick? She called the vet for advice, but the office was fully booked for days. Meanwhile, Max's behavior became more intense. Whenever Luna ventured even a few steps away, Max would whimper anxiously, pacing back and forth to keep her close. If someone else tried to pick Luna up, Max would growl softly and gently, but firmly pull her back with his nose, as if telling the world, "She's mine. Stay away." One afternoon, Lisa witnessed a moment that broke her heart. Luna had slipped out of the kitchen while Lisa was distracted, wandering towards the staircase. Max suddenly sprang into action, rushing after her with an urgency that was almost frantic. He gently picked her up in his mouth, careful not to hurt her, and carried her back to the living room as if she were the most precious treasure. Lisa knelt beside them, her voice trembling as she whispered, "Max, what's wrong? Why are you so scared for her?" Max looked up at her with deep, soulful eyes, as if begging for help. It was then that Lisa realized this was more than just a dog's love. Max wasn't just protective. He was worried, terrified, even. That night, Lisa sat with Luna cradled in her arms, and Max curled at her feet. She couldn't ignore the growing unease in her chest. Luna's breathing was irregular, with sudden pauses followed by soft gasps. Lisa felt a wave of helplessness wash over her. What if she couldn't save Luna? What if Max's instinct was trying to warn her of something far worse? The next morning, Lisa made a decision. She couldn't wait any longer. She had to take Luna to the vet, no matter what. Max seemed to understand, sitting quietly by the door with a protective gaze that never left the tiny kitten. At the vet's office, Max refused to leave Luna's side. He pressed himself against the carrier, whining softly whenever Luna cried. The vet, Dr. Haynes, gave Luna a thorough examination, his expression growing more serious by the minute. Lisa's heart pounded as the vet ordered tests, blood work, X-rays, and an ultrasound. Max stayed close, his body tense, as if he could sense the weight of the moment. When Dr. Haynes finally sat down to talk, his voice was gentle but grave. Luna has a serious heart condition. It's congenital, which means she was born with it. Her heart is weak and struggling to keep up. Without treatment, she may not have much time. Lisa's world seemed to shatter. But as she looked down at Max, still curled around Luna, she understood. Max hadn't just been hugging a kitten. He had been protecting a life that was hanging by a thread. Lisa's hands trembled as she held Luna's tiny body in her lap, tears welling in her eyes as Dr. Haynes delivered the news. The words congenital heart defect echoed in her mind, a heavy weight pressing down on her chest. Luna's heart was weak, struggling to pump properly, and without urgent care, her chances were grim. Max sat quietly beside her, resting his big head on Lisa's knee, as if sensing the heartbreak in the room. Throughout the examination, Max had refused to leave Luna's side. His golden eyes watched every move the vet made, filled with a fierce intensity that seemed to carry unspoken worries. Lisa wondered if Max understood something about Luna's condition that she didn't yet fully grasp. Dr. Haynes was kind but realistic. "There are options," he said carefully. "There's surgery, but it's complicated and expensive. Luna will also need ongoing medication and care. It won't be easy." Lisa's mind raced. How could she afford this? Could Luna even survive the surgery? And yet, the thought of losing her, of watching that tiny life slip away, was unbearable. As the vet explained the medical details, Lisa noticed Max's unusual behavior growing stronger. Max had been a rescue dog himself, brought in from a rough past where he'd seen cruelty and loss. Over the years, Max had always been gentle with smaller animals, but never like this. He was more than protective. He was desperate. That desperation became clearer during a quiet moment in the exam room. Luna let out a faint, trembling meow. Max immediately pressed his nose to her tiny chest, his eyes closing as if listening intently. Lisa gasped softly. Was Max sensing Luna's weak heartbeat? Could dogs really feel something like that? Dr. Haynes smiled softly. "It's possible. Dogs have incredible senses. Some can detect changes in health or distress that humans can't. Max might be trying to warn you." Lisa nodded, overwhelmed by the connection between her two pets. It wasn't just love, it was survival. Max wasn't just a companion. He was Luna's guardian. As they left the clinic, Lisa cradled Luna carefully while Max walked close beside her. The weight of the diagnosis hung heavily, but there was also a new determination in Lisa's heart. Luna's fight was far from over, and neither was Max. That night, back home, Max resumed his vigil. He wrapped himself tightly around Luna, his warmth a shield against the fragility of her little body. Lisa sat nearby, scrolling through fundraising pages and searching for ways to help. In the days that followed, Lisa would come to understand that the bond between Max and Luna was something extraordinary, rooted not just in affection, but in an unspoken knowledge of life's precious fragility. And it was that bond, that fierce love, that would drive them all forward. Days passed, and Lisa's home filled with a mixture of hope and heavy uncertainty. Luna, fragile and quiet, continued to rest in Max's protective embrace, but the weight of the diagnosis lingered in the air like a shadow no one could escape. Dr. Haynes had explained the gravity of Luna's condition clearly. Her malformed heart was working overtime, struggling to keep up with even the simplest tasks like breathing and moving. Without surgery and lifelong care, Luna's life expectancy was limited. But what struck Lisa most deeply was what the vet said about Max. "Dogs like Max have remarkable instincts," Dr. Haynes told her one afternoon. "He's likely sensing Luna's weakness, her failing heartbeats. It's a kind of empathy, born from experience." Lisa looked at Max with new eyes. Max had come to her from a rescue shelter, but his history was far darker than she'd ever known. Before she adopted him, Max had lived a brutal life in a dogfighting ring. He had witnessed pain, loss, and fear that no animal should ever endure. Lisa remembered the stories the shelter volunteers had told her, how Max had lost many siblings to violence, how he had been broken in body and spirit before she brought him home. Since then, Max had grown into a gentle giant, but the scars in his soul ran deep. Now, with Luna in his care, Max seemed to carry those scars differently. He wasn't just protecting a kitten. He was trying to save a life he understood could be gone too soon, just like the lives he had lost. One evening, Lisa sat quietly with Max and Luna. Max rested his head gently on Luna's small chest, his eyes half closed but alert. Lisa watched as Max's powerful body slowly relaxed, breathing sensed with the fragile kitten. It was a heartbreaking scene. Two souls clinging to each other in the face of an uncertain future. Lisa reached out, stroking Max's fur and whispering, "You're her hero, Max. You've always been." But as much as she admired Max's fierce devotion, Lisa knew it wasn't enough. Luna needed more than love. She needed expert care, surgery, and hope from science. Determined, Lisa began researching treatment options and connecting with specialists. The vet had been honest. Luna's surgery would be complex and costly. But she refused to give up. At night, when Luna cried softly, Max's response was immediate. He would curl around her, hugging her tightly, his eyes wide with concern. His protective nature wasn't just a comforting presence, it was a lifeline. Lisa began sharing their story online, not just to ask for help, but to raise awareness about the bonds animals form, and the silent ways they communicate pain and hope. To her surprise, messages of support flooded in. People from all over the world connected with the story of the dog who wouldn't stop hugging a crying kitten. Many shared their own stories of rescue, healing, and the quiet strength found in unlikely friendships. Lisa realized that Max and Luna's journey wasn't just about survival, it was about love's power to heal wounds, seen and unseen. And as she looked down at the two nestled together, she felt a fragile hope that with Max's fierce love and her determination, Luna's story was far from over. With the vet's diagnosis weighing heavily on her, Lisa threw herself into action. She knew that Luna's fragile heart needed expert care, and fast. The days that followed were a whirlwind of phone calls, emails, and endless research. Specialists, surgeons, and animal cardiologists became the new people in her life. But the biggest challenge was the cost. The surgery and aftercare would require thousands of dollars, far beyond what Lisa had saved. Yet giving up was not an option. Every evening, when she came home exhausted, Max was there waiting, his golden eyes shining with unwavering loyalty. Luna rested nestled against him, her tiny body calm in the safety of his embrace. Watching them, Lisa felt a surge of determination. Max wasn't just a pet. He was a guardian angel for Luna, a symbol of hope. Inspired, Lisa started a fundraising campaign online. She shared Luna's story in detail, the stormy night, Max's protective hugs, the heartbreaking diagnosis. Her words poured out with raw emotion, and the pictures and videos of Max cuddling Luna pulled at people's hearts worldwide. Messages of support came flooding in, donations, kind words, and offers of help from strangers who had never met Lisa, Max, or Luna. It was overwhelming. For the first time, Lisa felt that maybe they weren't alone in this fight. Meanwhile, Luna's condition fluctuated. Some days she was bright and playful, curling into Max's fur, chasing shadows on the wall. Other days, her breathing would become shallow and labored, her tiny body too weak to move. On those difficult days, Max was even more vigilant. He would press himself tightly against Luna, wrapping his paws like a protective shield, whimpering softly, as if pleading for her to hold on. One night, Luna's breathing worsened suddenly. Lisa rushed her to the emergency vet, with Max pacing anxiously in the waiting room. The tension was unbearable, the minutes dragging like hours. Finally, the vet emerged with a cautious smile. Luna was stable, for now, but the urgency of her condition was clear. That moment crystallized Lisa's resolve. They needed to act, and fast. With the funds slowly building from the campaign, Lisa secured a consultation with one of the top animal cardiologists in the city. The doctor reviewed Luna's tests, nodding gravely at the challenges but offering a glimmer of hope. "There is a surgery that can improve Luna's quality of life," the cardiologist explained. "It's risky, and it won't be a cure. But it can give her more time. And that time could be precious." Lisa nodded, tears stinging her eyes. Max sat at her feet, sensing her emotions, his tail thumping softly. That night, Lisa sat quietly with Max and Luna. Max's warm body curled around the kitten's fragile form, his head resting gently against her chest. Luna purred softly, comforted by Max's presence. Lisa whispered to them both, "We're going to fight this together. You're both fighters." Max let out a low, steady whine, like an answer. As the sun set beyond the window, the tiny trio huddled close, ready to face whatever came next, united by love, hope, and an unbreakable bond. The morning sun filtered softly through the curtains, but Lisa's heart was pounding like thunder. Today was the day, Luna's surgery. After weeks of worry, sleepless nights, and relentless hope, it all came down to this moment. Max seemed to sense the gravity too. He sat quietly by the door, his golden eyes following Lisa's every move, as if trying to offer strength. Lisa gently picked up Luna's fragile body, now a little stronger but still delicate, and placed her in the carrier. Max whimpered softly, nuzzling Luna one last time before they left. It was a heartbreaking scene. One dog's quiet goodbye to the kitten he had hugged through every tear and every fearful night. At the veterinary hospital, the atmosphere was tense but hopeful. The specialist greeted Lisa warmly, explaining the procedure one last time. The risks were high. Luna's tiny heart had already been through so much. But there was hope. This surgery could improve her blood flow and ease her struggle to breathe. Lisa held back tears as the doctors wheeled Luna away. Max stayed close, his body stiff with anxiety, pacing the waiting room with a low whine. The minutes crawled by. Inside, Luna lay on the operating table, the soft beep of monitors filling the sterile room. The surgeon's hands were steady and practiced, but the weight of the tiny life in their care was undeniable. Outside, Lisa tried to stay calm, but her thoughts raced. She imagined Max waiting anxiously, the bond they shared carrying all the silent prayers for Luna's safety. She pulled out her phone and played a video of Max hugging Luna from days before, a reminder of the strength in their love. Hours later, the surgeon emerged. His face was serious but kind. "The surgery was a success," he said softly. "Luna is stable, and we'll keep her under close observation for the next 24 to 48 hours. Relief flooded Lisa's chest. Tears streamed down her face as she thanked the doctor. Max let out a low bark, almost a cry of joy, as Lisa shared the good news. That night, in the recovery room, Luna was still fragile but breathing easier. Max was allowed in to visit, and the sight was almost miraculous. Max carefully curled around Luna's small body once again, his warmth comforting her even as machines hummed softly nearby. Lisa watched, overwhelmed by the scene. Max's protective instinct had never faltered, and now, after the surgery, it felt like a powerful symbol of hope and resilience. Over the next few days, Luna's strength slowly returned. Each small movement, each gentle purr, was a victory. Max never left her side, a steady guardian through every step of her healing. Lisa knew the road ahead would still be difficult. Luna would need ongoing care and monitoring. But for now, there was hope. A fragile, precious hope worn from a dog's love and a tiny kitten's fight to live. Weeks passed since Luna's surgery, and the tiny kitten's progress amazed everyone. Lisa watched with a mixture of relief and wonder as Luna's breaths grew steadier, her energy returning in small but steady bursts. The surgery had given her a new chance, a fragile gift that Lisa vowed to protect at all costs. Max remained Luna's steadfast guardian. Every morning, he would nudge her awake with gentle licks, and every night, he curled around her like a living shield, his warm body a comfort she could feel even in her weakest moments. Their bond had grown beyond simple friendship. It was a quiet promise of loyalty, protection, and unbreakable love. Lisa marveled at how the dog who had once endured so much pain had now become a beacon of hope for the little kitten. Max had saved Luna in ways that went beyond the surgery or medicine. His hugs, his watchful eyes, and his silent presence gave Luna a reason to fight. The online community that had rallied around their story continued to send support and encouragement, reminding Lisa she wasn't alone. Messages poured in from people inspired by the unlikely friendship, touched by the story of two creatures from different worlds bound by love. One afternoon, as Lisa sat by the window with Luna nestled in her lap and Max resting at her feet, she realized how much had changed. The fear and uncertainty that had once consumed her were replaced by gratitude and hope. Luna was no longer just a fragile kitten. She was a survivor, and Max, the gentle giant with a scared past, was her hero. Lisa smiled through tears as Max lifted his head, looking up at Luna with a softness that spoke volumes. Luna stretched, blinking slowly, and nestled closer into Max's fur. Their story wasn't just about illness or survival. It was about the healing power of compassion, the strength found in unlikely bonds, and the extraordinary ways love can transform lives. Lisa knew the road ahead would still have challenges. Luna would need ongoing care and frequent vet visits, but with Max by her side, she had the best protector she could ask for. Together, the three of them had weathered a storm, literal and emotional, and emerged stronger. As the sun set, casting a warm glow across the room, Lisa whispered softly, "You two saved each other, and I'm so lucky to have you both." Max wagged his tail gently, and Luna purred in response. In that quiet moment, surrounded by love and hope, Lisa understood something profound. Sometimes, the deepest bonds are formed in the most unexpected ways. And those bonds, like Max's hugs around Luna, could heal even the most broken hearts.